Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Boisterous, bringing you, of course, a solo cast of the Form Cup Diamond and Up. Spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner is Blazemost, and up here in the top right-hand corner we have SHiN. I should just mention real fast, because I kind of said that really out of order. I'm doing a solo cast because Kadonk's being all like, I want to watch MLG, meow. But, you know, we'll sort that out. I'm sure he'll join me soon. Now, of course, this is actually going to be the first video for the day, but I actually plan on putting out 5 today because I missed my video on Wednesday, and I hate doing that to all you fine people because I think that being punctual and having a schedule and keeping that schedule is extremely important. We do have SHiN and Blazemost, of course. This is the second rounds of the tournament. That actually wrapped up just a little while ago, but I'm not going to share who the winner was. I mean, that would just be a spoiler fest. Come on. You can't do that. That's just not fair to anybody who plays in it or who's watching these replays right now, because, you know, you might go and look at the brackets and then you would be completely spoiled anyway, so I guess it wouldn't matter. However, you know, I'm not going to do it. I am going to refuse to do it. That being said, the victor, who did win this tournament, did take home $50 US, of course. And there is going to be another one next month. So all players in the semifinals and up, which is of course the round of 4, are going to go on to become seeded in the next tournament of this caliber, which is pretty nice. This is going to be a monthly event put on by SHiN Intenshi. I've never tried to pronounce his name before, and I now remember why. We have both players going for 15 hatches, which are, of course, not common in the ZVZ matchup, but I love them anyway. So nice job to both SHiN, who actually is not who's actually not SHiN Tenshi. He's just SHiN. Yeah, and I'm gonna try not to pronounce crap. I can't really call him SHiN in this game because we do have a player named SHiN. Usually I would just call him SHiN, but I need to call him SHiN Tenshi for this game, and I have no idea how to actually pronounce that name, so it's gonna be a little bit awkward. Anyway, we have both players not really showing anything amazingly different or difficult. SHiN is actually going for a faster gas, which of course means a faster Zergling speed, and Zergling speed is a very important upgrade in this matchup because it really allows for those Zergling run-bys that are extremely effective until you get to like the very high-end level of play, just because Zergling run-bys can do a lot of economic damage very quickly, and it takes a very high level of skill to deal with them in an effective manner that stops them from doing a completely crazily excessive amount of damage. We do have Blazemost taking a little bit of an economic hit. His second queen is a little bit later, whereas SHiN started both of his queens literally right off the bat. He's going to be getting a faster gas, or a faster speed, so he's just a little bit ahead. We do have faster banelings coming out from Blazemost, which would signify some level of early game aggression for basically everyone. I can't imagine him not going for any sort of aggressive gameplay, just because those banelings really, they are a big economic hit. A baneling nest actually costs quite a bit. It's 100 minerals and 50 gas, so that's like 2 drones, and you know, it delays your speed, which is annoying, especially when your speed is already a little bit delayed. And that a little bit delayed is actually quite a bit delayed. It's approximately 55 seconds late, and that can be a huge hit to the economy if a speedling all-in comes in, because even if you do have banelings, if you're good enough with your Zerglings and you split them into like 4 or 5 squadrons, and then you just send them all in like kind of in a weird chain, you can actually survive a lot of baneling hits and soak up a lot of banelings with like that first pack, and then your subsequent packs will just be able to run into the main and destroy everything, because again, baneling nests are just such an economic hit. And if you can manage to keep those banelings to not be so cost effective, you will definitely take the lead. So far, it does look like shit. Like, actually, drone counts are amazingly even. They are both at 28 right now. Blazemost actually has a lot more lava currently. However, that's because his injects literally just popped. Now, of course, he's sitting at a lot more lava, which is not the best thing to do. It's not exactly the greatest thing you want to do. And SHiN is now taking the Harvester lead, and Blazemost is actually expanding into both an Evolution Chamber and a Roach Port, which is kind of unique. You don't see a whole lot of this play just because it's a lot of tech. I mean, he's basically just eating all of the marbles currently. If this was Hungry Hungry Hippos and buildings were marbles, he would be winning. But sadly, this isn't Hungry Hungry Hippos, and usually having more buildings in a ZVZ does not signify winning. Until, you know, the very end when it's a base race, and literally having one building signifies winning. We do have the speed Zerglings kind of dodging up, dodging around. However, they have missed their main opportunity to strike. These Zerglings now have their own, have a speed of their own. It looks like the Zergling is just going to be left behind to try to scout out whenever that third comes out. We have Blazemost now coming for his +1 armor, which is going to be a pretty significant upgrade. And SHiN is actually going for a Roach Warren. Now, of course, he does have 2 evolution chambers, so he'll be able to get much, much heavier upgrades on those roaches than his opponent will. And he actually also has a hatchery coming up, which is interesting. Going for third base so quickly it can put you in an awkward spot, because a third base in ZVZ, very easy to kill. It's actually extremely hard to defend, because if you have Banelings rolling in, Banelings basically prevent a Zergling defense, because you can't really send your Zerglings in to engage an enemy force of Zergling if there are Banelings there. You will need to send in Zerglings one at a time to try to kill off the Banelings, but usually if your opponent's good enough, and these guys are of course all in diamond, so they usually are good enough, you're going to have this situation where the Banelings are being protected by Zerglings and you really can't take them out. It looks like these Banelings are going to be stepping up a little bit. Oh god. This is actually very well played by SHiN. He's using his opponent's Zerglings to actually block off a little bit, because Banelings are, of course, slower than Zerglings. They run into the same kind of issue that Ultralisks run into, just on a much smaller scale, where they just have an issue getting into melee range, because you need to actually micro your Banelings just to get them to attack. At least past the wall of Zerglings. We do have the third base coming out from Blazemost, but SHiN is coming up with a pack of Zerglings. He will probably be able to deny this, actually. He will definitely be able to deny this quite easily. And oh my god, it wasn't even a deny, it was just a straight kill. And SHiN is just taking incremental leads at this point. Ugh. That's really not what you want to happen. I mean, Blazemost is getting a nice scout off, but he's not seeing the 2 evolution chambers working in the natural, which is a pretty key thing, and I do not believe he has at all seen those yet. No, he has not, and that's pretty nasty. He also does he even know about he doesn't even know about the roaches yet, and that's going to be a pretty nasty tech switch, because I think Blazemost still thinks his opponent is going for a primarily Zergling army. However, if you look at the upgrades, if you look at the amount of roaches currently in production, the amount of roaches currently built, it's pretty obvious that SHiN is actually going for roaches. He is even getting a Glial Reconstitution. That's definitely how you pronounce that upgrade. Oh man, I'm so good at this. He's getting Glial Reconstitution, and now he's actually just building 9 drones. So a lot of drones. But it looks like Blazemost is finally going to get that Changeling up into the main base that will be able to scout out everything in the natural that's happening. That's basically everything in the entire base that's happening. And SHiN has still not seen it yet. He should see it soon. I wouldn't... Maybe? I mean, Changelings are actually very convincing when you're playing as a Zerg player, because you have Zerglings all over the place no matter what. And it looks like actually like a second Changeling is going to be getting into the main base. And yep, it's not going to get seen either. So there is going to be a full scout off for Blazemost, which is pretty nice. It's always good to know exactly what your opponent is building and when they are building it. Now, of course, SHiN isn't doing anything super revealing currently. He's actually not doing anything revealing at all, and actually, oh, that's a macro hatch. I thought he was double expanding, and I was like, what? He's actually also going for Hydralisk Dens, which is not the play I would go for. I mean, I almost always go for Infestors in ZVZ just because Infestors are so good. Their splash damage just deals so much damage. It's so ridiculous. You just murder stuff with freaking with fungal growth. And of course, the lockdown on units is very nice for getting that better concave than your opponent. Now, of course, with Hydralisks actually have a very low amount of health, so Infestors are exponentially better against them than Roaches, and they're pretty freaking good against Roaches as is. And we actually see both players with even upgrades, both players upgrading evenly too. So it looks like Blazemost is going to have a little bit faster of a +2 armor. However, that's not a crazy lead. I mean, it's good. It's nice having a faster +2 armor, but it's nothing that, like, you know, It's nothing that she'll go crazy about. And the fact is that SHiN has a larger army at this point, and he's going to have a larger army for quite a while until these Hydralisks can really kick into production. And of course, these Hydralisks, they're good. They have much higher DPS than a Roach. However, just 2 Roaches is better than 1 Hydralisk. That's just the fact. That's how it kind of goes. And it looks like we are going to have an engagement here with no major splash on the side of either players. Now, of course, Blazemost is having a much better angle at this point. However, he's managing to pull those Hydralisks off the creep. There's a nice amount of Zerglings just running in and tanking a little bit. And there is the big move up from the Roaches. And here's an engagement coming down that is going to go significantly in SHiN's favor. All of the Roaches are going down. As soon as these Roaches are down, all of the Hydralisks are just going to get absolutely owned. We see Blazemost reproducing a lot of Roaches. However, SHiN is reproducing almost as many, and he still has a whole lot of Roaches down here on the attack, a whole lot of Roaches coming in for the attack. I don't think Blazemost is actually going to be able to defend this. This is actually quite a bit. At the very least, he's going to lose the third, and losing the third is essentially losing the game at this point, because there's really no way for him to counterattack. SHiN just has an equal army, and he has a way better economy. You really can't attack into a situation like that. And it looks like SHiN's army is finally going to get cleaned up, at least for the most part. However, he's going to be able to back out. He did a very, very significant economic damage. He managed to take out 14 workers, which is pretty heavy at this stage of the game. And if we just look at the worker count, I mean, Blazemost is 13 workers behind. So now he needs to start spending money, or spending larva, even more importantly, on drones, which is something that he really doesn't want to do when SHiN is out here with a giant army of Roaches just breathing down his neck, just watching him sleep. It's very sketchy. It looks like SHiN getting into a kind of nasty engagement angle. That's not exactly where you want to be. Not the prettiest spot. But, it's still okay, because he has this giant counterattack of Roaches that's coming down to the third base and will almost certainly snipe it, and they're just going to target down the hatchery. I would be surprised if they didn't kill the hatchery, and it looks like Blazemost is just going to be sacking the hatchery, and that's kind of all he can do. Now, of course, SHiN is going to be in an amazing position. He will be able to sandwich this army if he brings these Roaches back around, which he definitely should be doing soon. Because if he manages to get behind this army, he will not only be just straight killing Roaches from both sides, he'll be able to swing around from behind the Hydralisks and just kill those low health Hydralisks. It looks like he's actually going to be going for sniping some reinforcements, which is pretty key. And here comes the Roach armies are going to be swinging back in and coming in from behind. Not quite. The timing is not fantastic. But, I mean, SHiN is, again, he's just taking incremental leads. He doesn't even have Hydralisks. He doesn't even have Infestors. He is just slowly taking these leads that are allowing him to overpower and just take the game from Blazemost. And Blazemost's macro has just fallen too far behind for him really to recover at this point, I do believe. I don't see him coming back into this because he doesn't have the Infestors that you need to come back in this. I mean, the best way to come back into a game like this is to get, 4 perfect chain fungals off and just decimate your opponent's army without losing any supply. And you're just not going to see this. You're not going to see that at this stage. And there is the GG from Blazemost. So of course, congratulations to SHiN. If you would like to check out any other games or any more of the games from this series and others in the Forum Cup Diamond Up, you can head on over to youtube.com/boisterous/SC2. I still do commentaries of just standard play from the ladder that people send in to me. And if you would like your game commentated, you can send it on in any format. I mean, I really don't care if it's like a drop.sc file or just a regular replay file. You can send that on in to boisteroussc2@gmail.com along if you have a tournament that you're running that you want a commentator for. I'm basically open to anything. Just drop me a link and I'll check it out. So anyway, guys, this is Boisterous signing out.